Good morning. This is Bill Roney. Welcome to my discussion on, we're discussing the chapter six, the four strands, which according to the author should be given roughly equal amount of time. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. But first, today is sponsored by Silly Salt. This one's a lemon lime. All right. Yummy. Uh, the four extensions. I really do find it interesting if you try to put stuff into certain categories and like you can't use this with this, you gotta use this with that. I think personally that's kind of actually wrong. Some things might need to be slightly adjusted, but certain things can be used in pretty much all four categories. It depends on how you use it. And that goes into this aspect of time frame. How much time do you have with that student? I mean, I have a tutor class where I only have once a week for about a half hour now. Interestingly, the discussion we had uh, earlier, Thursday night, was mostly about what I was going through with the hurricane and the different aspects. Now, I was the tutor, this was the main teacher. He had the class for an hour twice a week. I'm there as kind of like a tutor and an extension. That's one of the things that some after school programs can have, as well as the public school systems. And we were talking about the different aspects of the storm and stuff and what we went through, what I was going through, what other people are going through. And we used different formats. And some of the things are, it talks about in the book that we're using. Really kind of set in, like the listening, speaking, reading, and writing, uh, what things can be broken down to it, which is discussed, like in the principles, page the 4.4 and 66, as well as the types of stuff you utilize on page 113, which is right after basically what we're discussing now. Uh, Meaning focus input, meaning focus output, language discuss learning, and fluency development. I had some after school programs and talk about the different activities, short talk, listening to stories, extensive reading, listening while reading, communicative activities, short talks, writing stories, activities, letter writing, so on, so dictation, correction. Well, when I was teaching my classes, for instance, I had a movie club in South Korea at my school. It met one Saturday a month. The third Saturday was club day. The first two they had were academics, and the fourth Saturday they had off. That's how schools are done in Korea, as well as their after-school programs that they were doing, which is much of Asia. So what did I do in the movie class? Well, I wanted to focus on listening. I want them to do fill in the blanks, which includes writing, and I want them also to speak about what they saw. Now, most of the class was focused on watching the movie and then talking about it. All right, so it was a little bit longer than the average club class. All right, that was one aspect. And the listening was predominantly the most. So that wouldn't be good for what is discussed here before. But then I had another class over in when I was in Shanghai, and they had reading, writing was secondary, speaking was the primary, and learn the new knowledge and to understand and speak fluently. Well, I also added some games in which I conclude all four areas, focusing on writing, the reading, fluency, um, and language input, output, focus learning, and fluency development by how the definitions the author uses. Now, like one of the games I have is speed writing, and that game I utilized a variety of different ways of doing it, depending on the level of the students that I was working with. The lower levels, it was more writing the simple words like cat, dog. Now, you had one one style was the students would run up and write the cat. The word is written up the top. Can they copy it? How it's written? Well, they're practicing, but they're not writing it once. They're writing it three times. It goes into my theory of three threes. You're learning this new material, you should be doing it three times, not just reading it, not just reciting, wrote, I say, you say, but we're also utilizing, it's not really an R, but writing. And that was, the students really loved the games. In fact, it was one of the games that they would pick, as well as the bomb. I accidentally was talking to a group of students. This game here got me in trouble with security at USF. We're talking about games that are popular in Asia. This game is a game popular in Asia. So I'm not trying to offend anybody. Don't call security on me again. The bomb game. It's also known as a hospital game, tornado game, but the students didn't like those two names. They always want to call it the bomb game. And if you ask any Asians that are coming into University of South Florida, what games they enjoy when they're first learning English, this is the game that'll come up. But you pick a number or letter, and then you have to, depending on the level, read, write, and of course speak. And something else, if I want to add a listening portion to it, I'll turn to somebody and go like, for an extra point for your team, what did he just say? Oh, all right. Your team also gets a point. He gets 3 points. All right. So you're not falling too far behind. All right. Okay. Your group time to pick. All right. And like I said, it all depends on the grade level, how much the knowledge they already have, what they're learning, what the goal is, on how much. So the concept of having four equal, I don't think you can have four totally equal. I think you have to find ways of blending them all together and utilizing them. You know, you try to like, okay, this amount of class will do this type of activities. This amount of class will do this type of activities. This amount of class will do this type of activities. This amount of class. It will become boring for the students, especially since I work with young kids. Okay, repeat after me. Well, da, da, da. So I use a lot of TPR, total physical response, in my class activities because I work with preschool to middle school. Korea, I was in middle school and I was working with kids that were coming to an English speaking country, so we're trying to catch them up. But I also worked with some kids like that in China that were going to an English speaking school. The most interesting one was a group of students that were going to England, and I had to teach them, um, depending on what grade they're going on, from preschool all the way up to the grade that they were going to enter in, everything of history in a matter of 2 months. That was fun, especially trying to keep the highlights and help them remember it, and not just learn it and learn it in English. So that's my aspect of it. Of should we have it four equals? No, blend it together, make it fun activities, grab your students' attention and stuff. Now that also goes with intrinsic and extrinsic value. One, you're doing it for fun. The other one, you have a goal. Like you have tests are coming up, and that can help out with doing both of those to this. And I'm gonna add a link, intrinsic versus extrinsic, and the in the bio, as well as a short clip of some of my students in one of the writing competitions from my YouTube page that I shared with schools. I say, hey, here's me. This is what I did. But some of the items in here, like speed reading, you have to definitely do something that they already read several times. That can get boring for them. But you're making it a game. I did one where groups lined up in chairs. They ran up. I showed them what they had to read, or give them a piece of either care of a card or written on the written paper. They had to unfold it, and then they quickly read it, hand it to the next to it. They ran up. They read it. Hand the next to it. They read it, and then all the way to the end of the line. Now, not only are they reading, they have to write it, then read it again, give it to the next to it, and the group that got done the first with all those two activities was the winning team. In reality, they were all the winning team because they were hearing, they were seeing, they were writing. Hmm. That's all the activity. That's all, pretty much all four of these four activities put together because they're going to try to read it as quickly as they can. Speed reading. They are learning. They were initially the classes learning new material. Well, now they got input and they got output, and they're reading, they're writing, so it covers all the activities. Uh, I guess I shared enough examples. I have more examples. Like when I was reading this, just all these different thoughts on what to do when different type of activities we were doing. I kind of wished my students I was teaching them about the difference between hurricanes and typhoons and cyclones. I was able to be there and expand their knowledge with additional activities. So have a good day. Sorry, it's a little. I'm at 12 minutes already. Like I said, so much stuff came at me, and like trying to limit my examples.